Welcome to part 2 of the top 3 things that my clients have said have been difficult for them during the self-isolation period of COVID-19. Number 2 is trying to communicate with others and trying to get enough social contact. So let's break down some of the things that you can do to help with this problem. Let's talk about the number 2 most talked about topic that I've been hearing from my clients recently, and that's around communicating with others during this self-isolation period. So it is important that we get a certain amount of social contact every day, and so because of this process that we're going through, we've had to come up with a lot of out-of-the-box ideas, be really creative about what we want out of connecting with the people around us, because we can't connect with them the way we normally would. So there's a few things that I can kind of bring up that might be some ideas of things that you can do. One thing that people have really been taking to is the idea of doing meals together. So, doing meals together but apart. So cooking meals and then separately, and then sitting down at a table and turning on an app of some sort, video conferencing, and sitting down and eating together. And the similar types of things, like on a Friday night or Saturday night, sitting down and having drinks with friends, and doing something like that. I also think, playing games and doing that kind of thing is also a really great way to say connect with family. Instead of just like sitting in front of the camera and like talking, it gives everybody something to do together, and maybe is a little less awkward in some cases. There is a platform called Jackbox TV, which is a game console kind of concept. There's a bit of a fee associated with it, but multiple people can be on a game at the same time. Obviously, people who are gamers in general, they have there's a lot of different games that you can play together with other people online, and that lends itself well to this kind of idea. There's also an app called House Party. It allows like up to 8 people on a platform together, and we've all seen how Zoom is obviously a possibility of a way to kind of do that. What else is there? I guess like the other concept is things like watch parties. So there's some platforms where you can have a watch party when something is listed every day. I've been noticing that there's been some live viewings of different types of shows. So like, for example, Splash and Boots, which is a Canadian kids entertainment duo. They have been posting things almost every single day that are live for kids to watch, which is great for families with young kids. But I think there's a lot of other things like that. One of the things that my sister and I like to do is we like to watch a TV show together or a movie, and we'll just sit on the phone and watch something in our 2 separate households. So that's an option. And I also heard from a client that what they did was she didn't know what to do with her kids, so she took the opportunity to do a choreographed dance with the kids, kind of like have them make up their own dance, and then they made some baked goods and dropped them off at their grandparents. So even though they couldn't see them, they brought a boombox with them, and kind of did a dance performance for them outside the window of their house so that they could like see them perform that for them. So this is an opportunity to have the kids break out some maybe some things from back in the day. They can be, they can learn some of the music that you learned about when you were a teenager, and then they get to, kind of play with that a little bit. On the other side of all of this, there's a big issue that a lot of people bring up around boundaries. And this really has a lot to do with the fact that some people just don't want to keep talking about COVID-19. You might be tired of it at the end of your day, especially people who are frontline workers. You get back home at the end of your day, and maybe that's something you don't want to talk about. So I think it's really important that if the people in your life are people you would consider safe or emotionally safe for you to have these types of conversations with, have conversations about the fact that like you don't want to talk about this more. Or if you have a friend that contacts you and that's all they seem to want to talk about, or that your parents only ever seem to want to talk about that one thing, it's okay for you to bring up the fact that you don't always want to talk about it, and that you find other types of topics to address. And maybe that's why sometimes, doing things like playing a game or doing those kinds of things are actually easier, because it means that you don't have to talk about what's going on with COVID right now. Similarly, sometimes like people are checking in all the time. It's okay for you to kind of give people a sense of like what it is you need right now and what kind of boundaries you have around needing to be checked in on all the time, and have a conversation with them. What do they need? What are they hoping for? Because maybe they feel really alone and need the check-in, and maybe you don't. So, those are opportunities in friendships to be able to figure out a way to really give and take and make that relationship stronger. And they shouldn't be things that we shy away from. They're perfectly normal conversations to have. And so I think that's a big part of like just even giving other people a sense of what your goals are for yourself during the isolation period, because these things they tend to shift and change as this process goes on, because we're learning how to do this, and so our goals will change as we're going through this. The last thing is I just want to point out the dynamic between partners. It's okay to tell your partner that you need space. And I think what happens is if you have a partner that is working with you at home all day, it becomes more difficult to have alone time. So, it is probably better that the two of you are working in separate quarters during the day, and then in the evening, maybe you get together, or vice versa. Maybe you'll work next to each other all day long, and then in the evenings, you'll do your own thing. So I think every partnership has to have a discussion around what actually works better for them, and have some conversations about how to do this stuff differently, because it's not normal for us. So again, just trying to figure out what it is that you need to do independently and what they need to do independently. It might be as simple as one of you goes for a walk after work and the other one doesn't. Or maybe you guys go and take separate walks, or maybe you go for walks at different times a day, or maybe you do walks together, but there's other things that you do separately. So, just trying to work through some of these conversations and making a point to have them. I hope that this content was helpful for you. I would love to hear feedback in the comments below. You can also reach out to me at my website, which is www.sarahghorsford.com, or you can email me at video@sarahghorsford.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing from you.